Tonight is the April celebration night at the Fourth Dimension. May. That's my fault. Tonight is the May celebration night at the Fourth Dimension. Tonight we have 8 celebrants with a combined 99 years of sobriety. So first, Jose will come present John Paul with a 38-year medallion.
Jose Ruiz, alcoholic.
Hey, Jose.
And before I present John Paul his medallion, I would like to take this time to congratulate all the people that picked up medallions, those new guys that came in and raised their hands. Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. Because this program really works. So here I got my man John Paul. This guy asked me to be his sponsor. Right? And the only way I know how to sponsor people is to take them right into the book. Because the book of Alcoholics Anonymous is the foundation and it gives us a way of life. Now, a lot of people don't follow that. But I reiterate to the guys that want to work with me, not to waste my time, and I won't waste theirs. Because this is about saving lives. And if you're here, your life will be saved if you go through this book. John Paul is celebrating 30 years of sobriety. I have 29 years of sobriety. And he humbled himself and came to me and asked me to sponsor him. He was going through some difficult times. And what did I do? Let's go through the book. I took him through the book. We did some. I love this guy because I said, we got to do an inventory. And he did not renege. People here fight that shit. Oh, I don't have to do an inventory. Well, guess what? That's why AA is a way of life. Where it doesn't matter how many years of sobriety you have. If you're going through struggles, there's something that you have to put on paper. And when you put it on paper, you own it. And when you look at it, you do the work that is required to get rid of that stuff. And I'm not going to say anymore. I'm very honored to sponsor this guy. And not only to sponsor him, that I can call him a friend. Because when he asked me to sponsor him, we weren't friends. And we just became friends as the relationship grew. Congratulations, brother.
I asked for one that was gold with diamonds, and he came through. My name's John Paul Lucier. I'm an alcoholic. My last drink was May 25th, 1987. If you were born after 87, you don't need to bring that up after the meeting. Why did I drink? I drank because I love to drink. And I started drinking when I was young, like 4 or 5 years old, stealing a little slug of Nana's Highball at lunch. And I loved what it did for me. I could go across the street to the park and play with all the other kids. The rest of the times that I couldn't get a slug of that, I only went to see my one friend. I had one best friend. That was it, because I just didn't fit in. That was my deal. By the time I was 11 years old, I was drinking every day. By the time I was 15 years old, I was permanently expelled from public school. By the time I was 23 years old, I had racked up 50 arrests and about 23 felonies. So life went downhill quick. Came from a great family, by the way. Dad with an MBA from the finest school in the country. Mom a nurse at Mass General Hospital. No drinkers in my family. Difficultly, Mom and Dad did not drink. No booze to steal in the house. Very aggravating. So I had to develop a network. We've all done that. How did I get to AA? I was tricked. It's sort of what happened. When I was 12 years old, I remember watching an episode of Dick Van Dyke, and there was this really drunken guy, and it was a slapstick thing, and the guy was falling over the sofas and all this stuff. And they were trying to put a coat over his head so they can get him into the car and take him to a meeting. And I always thought, if I ever end up like that guy on Dick Van Dyke, I know what to do. I didn't know it was an AA meeting, but I knew there'd be a meeting somewhere. And then later in life, I was working for a company in California. And this guy, Richard Beadle, who's still sober today, and this is 1984. He and my friend Marty DeLand, who was in charge of engineering out of this company, they told me, they said, and they knew I was drinking too much and I had a problem. I mean, you could see it just from a mile away. They said, all you got to do is go to AA and they'll teach you how to drink. This is what they told me. And I said, that's brilliant, because I kind of need that. I keep getting DUIs and getting in trouble, and if I could just learn how to drink right, I'd be fine. So by the time the judge decided that I could either go to jail for 2 years or pay for my own treatment program, it seemed like a good idea to pay for the treatment program. Because I want you to take a good hard look. Do I look like a good inmate? No. I look like a good inmate if my mom and dad sent me a wig and some lingerie, I would probably be a great inmate. Because I'm a little guy, I'm also frightened of everything. So it wouldn't have worked out well for me. And I'll share real quick, because I know that we got a lot of people that we got to get through tonight. My first sponsor, Billy O'Neill, I said, Billy, what do I do? And he said to me, he said, do the next right thing. And I thought about it for a second, and I was honest. And I said, I don't know if I know right from wrong anymore. And he said, that's okay. He said, if it feels wrong right here, you call me up, and we'll figure out if it's right or wrong. That's what he told me. And, of course, he knew what I didn't know. No job, no home, no checking account, no car, no driver's license. Not a lot of opportunity to make wrong decisions at that particular point in my life. And he tricked me again. I was tricked. Doing the next right thing was the principle of the first step, honesty. He tricked me. He tricked me into being honest. And from that point on, he would tell me, he'd say, to do these other 11 steps correctly, after you get through that first 50 pages and figure out that you're definitely an alcoholic, you got to be honest. Because if you're not honest with steps 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, you're cheating yourself and you're just going to go back out and drink. And it came to be true. I watched a lot of people I came into AA with go back out and never return. They just disappeared into the ethos, as I like to say. The other day I was at a group and we were reading out of this new big book, because I have the old one, because I'm old, in case you haven't figured that out. There's a story called My Chance to Live. And it's actually a girl that writes a story, but that story is identical to my story with a slight change to a timeline. That's about it. That's what I went through, is what she went through. And I'll close with a couple other thoughts. Into action, because I'm working with a couple of guys right now. It talks about step 5, and it says, if we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking. That is a warning. That's what my sponsors have pointed out to me. The big book is littered with warnings. The big book is a do book. There isn't anywhere in this book they use the word don't. I don't know how many people have read the book. It doesn't say don't. It says do, all over and over and over. It warns us to get into action and to do certain things. And the principles try to give us a new life principles, is what I give out this little card to newcomers. I do that because one of my sponsors, Fritz Dryborough, gave me one of these cards at one time. And he reminded me all the time, he says, you got to live by those 12 principles, young man. You got to throw away the stuff you used to do. Because I'll tell you right now, before I got back, got my life back together, I was still a liar, thief, a cheat. I was dishonest. I wanted you to see who I wanted you to think I was. First couple of weeks in AA, somebody said, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a draftsman. Well, hold on. I got kicked out of school at 15 years old. What's the deal with that? Well, okay. I lied my way into a couple of drafting jobs, and I had a nice portfolio of drawings. So I landed good jobs by lying and saying I'd gone to a tech school and finished the program. I didn't finish any program. So I had to go back the next week and tell the guy, he says, remember you asked me what I do? I said, I'm a draftsman. He said, yeah. I said, actually, I'm an unemployed guy that hasn't finished high school yet, but I'm looking for a job. Because that was the truth. And that was my first experience with delusional thinking, because I was full of that delusional thinking. Like I told you at the beginning, when I first came in here, I wasn't sure I knew right from wrong. I spent a lot of time my first year in here going back to people in my group, and the old timers too, and correcting myself, telling on myself, because I lied. I put a spin on it. I saw it from the best possible point of view, from a good light, as I like to say. You know, why not, right? Well, I'll tell you why not. It's not honest, it's a lie. And that can take me back out. I don't want to go back out. My best friend died at 23 years old, the guy that lived across the street from me. I think about him all the time, especially at my anniversaries. I think about how Jerry's gone. I think about my friend Robin Smith. She's gone. She died too. I think about my friend Jim Graziano, liver cancer. That looked like it. That was a shit deal he got. But you know, they didn't stop. None of these people stopped. And I could go on with a really long list, but there's too many people that need to speak tonight. I'll close with this. I found a God, and my God loves me. That's a good thing. My God doesn't punish me. And I hope you all have a God too, and that He loves you as much as I do. Thanks.
All right, and now Luke will come present Michelle with 19 years.
Hi everyone, my name is Luke and I'm an alcoholic. I first met Kyle 10 months ago. I first met Michelle. I met Michelle 15 years ago, and at that point she was 4 years sober. She had moved from California. That 4 years in California, she had developed a solid program. She had a great sponsor, and they did a lot of work. She was very active and involved. Fortunate for me, that's the person I met. And she often tells the story when she tells her story. She spoke somewhat of the other night. I'm going to tell one quick story and go on. But first, with all the silliness, congratulations to all the celebrants and the family members who are here for them. Thank you very much. So Michelle tells a story of how when she was newly sober, her sponsor said to her, come to my house on Tuesday and bring lettuce and tomato. And of course, her in her tough Compton way goes, I ain't shopping for this. But she went. And sure enough, she shows up and there are some other ladies there. And someone else bought the chutney. Someone else bought the tacos. And it's Taco Tuesday. But more than Taco Tuesday, it's a network of sober sisters. And they met Tuesday after Tuesday after Tuesday. And they built a bond and a network and a friendship. And she still speaks to many of those ladies still today, 19 years. So it's a cool story. But when she got here, shortly after being here 4 years, by about the fifth year or so, she's starting to get some New Jersey sponsees and whatnot. She got ill. And after a year or two, she actually had to lose some of her sponsees because it was the right thing for them to find other people. Michelle couldn't give me time and attention. And it wasn't only until about 2 years ago that her health had gotten good enough, and then sponsees came into play. It was one of my favorite nights ever when all of a sudden in our little place, in come a stream of ladies, and it was Taco Tuesday at our house. And that's the rewards of this program. And then when we moved down here, a month later, all of a sudden, there's a FaceTime call, and Michelle gets out her iPad, and it's all of her sponsees still continuing Taco Tuesday in New Jersey. So that's great. So, Michelle, maybe, I don't know what the future holds, but maybe it'll be a taco night. So the last thing I'll say is thank you. Thank you for the example that you show me every day, and you show many of us. 19 years, congratulations. God bless.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Higgins. I'm an alcoholic. For those of you who do not know, that is my extremely silly husband, Luke Higgins. And, first off, congratulations to everybody that is in here that is celebrating tonight. I know most of you. You guys have become really important to me and to us. And it's an honor to celebrate with you guys. And for all the people that picked up a coin, one of the best things for someone like me sitting in the third row is to see you take a new coin and a 30-day coin and a 60-day coin all the way up. It's also when I go out and I speak in these recovery centers, because I was in 36 treatment centers. It took me that long. So I give a lot of my time back to service, and so does John Paul. And we got a good little thing going here. I lost my thought. Okay. It'll come back. So we moved here 10 months ago. It's been 10 months now. And we moved from New Jersey, where our AA was solid. We had a home group, which was the size of this. We had sponsees, we had networks. We were in the middle of AA. And it was time for us to do something different. And my sister, who is here, my brother, who is here, we all decided we're going to retire in Florida. So we come on down because my health has changed now. We can do it. And then Luke and I woke up and we were like, what do we do now? Who do we call? Where do we go? So we get the little chair app on our phone and we start going to meetings all over Port Richey, Spring Hill, just everywhere, trying to feel that feeling again in a group. Because we, of course, needed a home group. We needed to be involved in our home group. Because these are the things my sponsor taught me outside of how to shop for lettuce and tomatoes. She is my sponsor to today. She's one of the best women that I have ever met. Because everything that she has, she gave freely to me. And she still does. We went to a bunch of groups. And we heard a lot of messages. And we heard a lot of good things. And we got to meet some really good people. But when we walked in here, into the Fourth Dimension group, almost immediately we knew we were home. We knew we were among the people that we wanted to grow old with in AA. And we made this our home group. And I'm forever grateful. Every Friday night, it's a good night. We talk about our sober date. My sober date is May 13, 2006. I want to tell you about May 12, 2006. I was in the middle of a 64-day relapse after 12 and a half dry years in AA. Or around. I wasn't in AA, I was around. I was on day 64. My son, my firstborn son, who is everything to me, everything, he moved out. He wouldn't talk to me, had nothing to do with me. And my ex-husband calls him up and says, you need to come see your mother. She's a mess. And he was on his way. I couldn't face him. I couldn't face anyone. Everything I had that was great had now in less than 64 days, I was on the bottom. It was just a matter of time before homelessness and hotels and motels and abandoned vehicles and cardboard condominiums came back into my life. And I know he's on his way. And I can't face him and I can't face you. So I go in the closet and I grab my designer scarf because I was very materialistic. I thought that stuff mattered. And I tied it around my neck and around the pole, and I let go because I was done. And the pole broke. First thought, I paid $3,000 for that pole. We all laugh about that now, but right then, when I fell, I was on my knees and I knew something had to change right at that moment. And I asked God for help. It was just that simple. Please help me. That was the words. And I called a treatment center that had been calling me, and she said, can you come right now? And I said, yes. And I went. I almost missed all of this. I almost missed my grandchildren. I almost missed my kids growing up into fine young men. I almost missed celebration with you guys and the life in Florida and the friends that I am making and all the beautiful stuff that goes on in my life. You know, I was sick for a very long time. We were really, 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 really sick. We were in the hospital all the time. My sister and my brother are coming in the hospital visiting me, especially my brother. He came all the time. And even that, I would have missed that and who that made me. With all that, I haven't lost an ounce of gratitude. I have not wanted to step out of AA. We started doing step work in the hospital. What do, right? Thank God for Zoom meetings. So I think really what my message is that if you are here, you belong here. People don't come to AA because they didn't have nothing to do on a Friday night. So if you're here, you're supposed to be here. If you need help, ask somebody for help. There are about 90 people in here that'll be willing to help you. You know, to my husband, my adorable husband, who I love so much. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Thank you for taking this ride. I look forward to everything else that comes after. Thank you, guys.
And now Mike will come present Shawn with 17 years.
We are not a glum lot, amen? My name is Michael. I'm grateful to be alive. Grateful to be clean and sober, and grateful that the Lord took that obsession away from me. And I'm honored to be here. Every time I come to 4D, the room and the Spirit of God fills up. And there's nothing but love and hope. I see so much hope in this room. New babies, new opportunities, new friendships, new chances. It's amazing. And I agree with Jose. At those new people that came back or are starting their journey today, thank you for showing me what courage looks like. Right? Courage is not the absence of fear, but the presence of faith and perseverance through it. So I'm honored here tonight to give a medallion for 17 years to my brother in arms, my friend, and my business partner, Shawn Montgomery. I've had the honor of walking with him and his family through quite a lot. Right, I met him, I think we were trying to work it out 12, 13 years ago, maybe in the dry dock, could have been somewhere else, but I'm just honored that I'm his friend and that I can lean on him when I need to, and just honored to be around such amazing, good-looking, wonderful people here in this room tonight. I wish you all well. So, which is the medallion? I don't have my glasses. I can't see anything.
Me neither. Was it XXV? I don't know. That might not be it.
Well, I can tell you what, though. 99 years of the people celebrating tonight is quite a hopeful thing as well.
17, right?
That's
All
all right.
right. We got the right one. So, thank you for allowing me to have this honor. That's okay. Over here.
Having a side conversation.
So I'm honored to give you this, Shawn. And one thing I'd like to say, too, is these principles and these steps and the fruits of his character shine in the midst of all of it. You know, and even through all his tests, I mean, you can't have a testimony without tests through it. So I'm just honored to be standing here and giving the medallion tonight. God bless you.
Thanks, I'm Shawn. I'm an alcoholic. And honestly, it would be more than 99, but our friend Pat is not here tonight. I think, what has he got, like 56, 50, 58. So it would be like 157 years tonight, you know? So let's give Pat a round of applause. And I'm honestly, I'm grateful to be here. Like, honestly, Pasco County Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life. You know, my older brother was already here. He said I could come here, but I needed to do two things when I got here, was to go to Alcoholics Anonymous and find a job. And I've been in Alcoholics Anonymous ever since, and I've had a job ever since. So, I mean, those are two things that, I don't know. I just watched my dad growing up, and that was one thing I seen my dad do, and I'm glad that it's instilled in me today. He was like, if you don't go to work, you're never going to have anything in life. And it just stuck with me all these years. And I came to Pasco County May 10th, 2008. I drank Memorial Day weekend, so that's why my sobriety date isn't May 10th, it's May 23rd. And honestly, I've been thinking all year what I was going to say this year. I'm just kidding. Like, all kinds of great things. I mean, you know, you guys know my brother passed away a couple years ago from a fentanyl overdose. It's coming up on 2 years that he passed away, and it stinks because, you know, Chris took him through the steps, and he got sober, and his life just, like, turned out to be this miraculous life. And then he came to me one day after he already started drinking and said he didn't think he was an alcoholic. And I told him, I'm not supposed to diagnose anybody alcoholic, but I drank with you. You are an alcoholic. And then he got into a dirt bike accident, and the doctor put him on some pain medicine. And then a couple years later, he died from a fentanyl overdose and left behind a wife and 4 kids. And it stinks, you know. But what that did, honest to God's truth, and it's sad. And it's sad that it hit so close to home, but what that did, because I was just like, I was in Alcoholics Anonymous, but I wasn't doing what I should have been doing. And it pushed me closer to you guys. And it pushed me closer to Pastor Mike. And my walk with the Lord today is just unbelievable. And, and all kinds of amazing things are happening in my life. I opened up a few businesses after wanting to do this for a few years. I opened up a couple of sober houses, and they're going well. And it's just awesome to see guys come in here and do this work, and the lights turn on in their eyes, and then they just go out there into the community and bring this way of life that was shown to them. And I got engaged last weekend. Honestly, it's like the easiest relationship that I've ever been in. And it's mostly because I try to stay out of the way. But, like, I've never been in a relationship with a woman that I was friends with first. And honestly, we were friends for like 4 years before we started together, like, romantically and stuff. But we get along really well. We like doing things together. We ride my motorcycle together. We go spend time with her family in Jacksonville. She talks to my mom. I mean, it's pretty cool. And, one more thing is, like, honestly, I wouldn't be the guy I am today if I didn't have this little amazing boy that was born 11 years ago in October. And he changed my world. I was out of my mind. You know what I mean? I'm surprised I didn't get drunk or high. But that little boy changed my life. I have patience today because of that little boy, and my life is amazing because of him. Like, today I was, I got the like, anything that I do today in my life is an honor to do. Like, because if I got what I deserved, I'd be dead. You know what I mean? And like, I got to go to his school today, and he struggles academically, and I was there today, and he got the honor roll. And it was like one of the proudest moments to see this little boy that struggled for 3 straight semesters bring his grades up at the end and grab A, B honor roll. And I know that's Alcoholics Anonymous. That's you guys. Thank you. You know what I mean?
And Caleb will come present Eric with 11 years.
My name's Caleb. I'm an alcoholic. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to be up here. And if you're new, welcome. And if you've got years, thank you for paving the way and leaving the door open for a guy like me, a guy like Eric. When Eric asked me to do this, I thought back to where I was 11 years ago, right? And I had to do some calculations. I was 21 years old, and I couldn't put the pieces together. I couldn't tell you what I was doing when I was 21. I could tell you I was knee-deep in the grips of this thing, and it was just starting to take hold, and my life was slowly crumbling, and it was progressing. And on the flip side of that, you had Eric in a halfway house, getting a hold of this deal, and starting a way of life that's changed many lives in this room and many others beyond that. I've known Eric for almost 3 years now, and when I first met Eric, he had this face, and I was like, that dude's an asshole. I could just... oh, man. And I didn't... I don't know, man, but the thing about it, he would shake my hand every time I met him. He would say some things to me, and I don't know, man. Had an intimidating face, and I just... But what happened over this last year, me and Eric, we've gotten pretty close, man, and I was floating through this thing for a couple years, and I used to hear people talk about being miserable in sobriety, right? And that's something I hadn't experienced, and I didn't know what it meant. And then the time and place came where I was miserable in sobriety, right? I was not happy with where I was. I had my hands all over everything, and I was super disturbed. Good thing for a guy like Eric, he can give you a talk that you didn't know you needed, right? And he'll talk your ear off, but at the end of it, he leads it up with a solution. And I don't know, a couple months ago, maybe even less than that, we were sitting at Chipotle, and I was just in the midst of this thing. I was going through my head, and he just looked at me, man. He could see it before I could even see it, and he said, what's going on, right? And he told me exactly what I had to do. Man, he's not my sponsor. We share a sponsor, but he's put that thing on paper, man. And we recently did an inventory. And after that inventory, man, a couple of us got together. We did this inventory. We went out to eat, and Eric sat with me for like an hour, maybe a little longer, man. And the power of example, right? Eric walks this deal. Eric does this thing, man, and he's saved me many times. Many times that I didn't even know I needed saving, man. He gave me that talk that I did not know I needed. And I'm grateful for you, brother.
Hi, my name's Eric Cook, and I'm a recovered alcoholic. My sobriety date's May 18th, 2014, and I did not pick it, and I'm very grateful that I have it, and thank you all for being here tonight. Like Caleb said, I don't sponsor Caleb. Caleb doesn't sponsor me, but what Caleb represents to me is the same thing that Rob represents to me, Chris represents to me, Tommy represents to me. It's the people that come in here and dive into this thing and get set on fire for it. Right? And I'm sure I left off some other names, and I don't do that to offend. I do it because I'm really nervous. I don't want to disappoint anybody. Speaking of disappointment, kind of rude that you didn't have a shirt like he had with my face all over it. My wife's here. She didn't have one last year either. That's kind of really bothering me for some reason. I don't know what. But our co-founder's last message talked about falling into this place of like smug complacency, and I've felt myself fall into that spot over the years. And I don't need to pick up the phone. I don't need to go to that meeting. I don't need to call that guy. And what these guys do for me is when they come in here and they get lit up for this thing, it reminds me of what that feels like. It's like the only place I feel emotion. It's really weird. It reminds me of what I need to do, that I need to put my feet, one in front of the other. I need to put my hand out there. I need to meet the newcomer. And as Caleb put it as politely as he could, I have a face that says, if you come near me, I will stab you. And I promise you that's not the case if you ever need somebody to talk to, or whether you're brand new or you've been here for a while and you feel like you're off at that jumping off place. I know what that feels like. So please come and talk to me. I'll tell you how I got out from under it. So I owe that all to you guys. Thank you.
All right. And now Alex will come present Kimberly with 6 years.
I know. My name is Alex. I'm an alcoholic. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, it is super awesome to be in the house with 4D. I love sitting in here and just sucking up the energy. It's so wonderful to see the different people picking up the chips and kind of piggybacking on what little Eric had just shared, which is, you know, I wouldn't be here today if somebody didn't 12-step me. I don't think I would be here today if it wasn't for a lot of my sponsees that I've worked with since moving to Florida here. Kimberly and I are not your sponsor, but, you know, here I am at a meeting because an alcoholic reached out and said, hey, would you do this? However, I've met Kimberly way back in the beginning of her sobriety, and the biggest thing that I really kind of wanted to share that I've learned and seen with Kimberly is that she has had a lot of life on life's terms in her 6 years of sobriety. And I am always overly impressed by the fact that this woman sits still, prays, creates, and extends herself to other people in very creative ways. And I'm not talking about Hobby Lobby concepts here. I'm talking about she really inserts, you know, God's will, prayer into people's lives at different levels. Like I said, as she's going through life on life's terms. And quite honestly, I'm not sure if this alcoholic could do it. So I'm very grateful to be here to extend this 6 years. I think every number that we increase in is wonderful. And I just want to encourage the people who picked up 1 through 90, continue. Because, you know, we all need one another. Nobody got here by themselves. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kimberly. I'm a grateful alcoholic. And it was actually 6 years ago right now that I was being put in the back of a cop car. You know, thank God that my sobriety had nothing to do with me. Because before AA, I met a DA and he said I had to. And I was on, so my sobriety day is May 30th, 2019. I got arrested July 12th of 2019. I had not drank for those 45, I don't know why, but I didn't. I actually do know why. So I was on 3 DUIs in 2 different states. I didn't think I had a problem. You guys didn't have anything I wanted, and the wee part of the program could go somewhere. You know, because I would go to a meeting on Wednesday nights. It was a speaker step meeting, and God bless those people. And I'm so grateful for Tradition 12 that says principles before personalities, because damn, I was a personality. And I would go to that meeting, and I would open my mouth, and I would verbal diarrhea my pain all over those poor people. And they kept telling me to keep coming back. I was told once, I heard in a meeting, that you're as emotionally sober as the first time you got drunk. Well, my mom has since informed me that I was 12 months old when she came home from work and found me drunk in my playpen because my uncle had put beer in my bottle. So I've been using alcohol to keep myself quiet. People have been using alcohol to keep me quiet for many years. And you know, I had a lot of that capital T trauma that some of us come in here with. You know, I knew who God was. I didn't trust that God because he allowed a lot of things to happen to me when I was a kid. And in 1994, I told my dad, who was the alcoholic, he was bipolar, I believe, I told him a lot of that trauma, and I just dumped it in his lap, and he didn't know what to do with it. And so 5 days before my 17th birthday, my father committed suicide, and we buried him the day before my birthday. It's not the reason I'm an alcoholic, but it's the reason I drank for a very, very long time. I could not get drunk enough, high enough, or numb enough to get through those emotional calendar days. And those days still happen, but I don't have to get drunk over them today. I don't leave a meeting and go get drunk over the promises. You know, because I would hear the promises, and you guys would read it off a sheet, and I'm like, if you guys have to tell on yourselves, and you guys got to read a book every day, you got a problem. Sign my paper, like, I'm out of here. And here was God. Like, I was in 2 different states, and they were allowing me to do mail-in to Georgia. Like, Georgia didn't even require me to, like, show up, right? But all I could do was get pissed off at the judge, for, like, giving me this time and telling me I had to go to these meetings and go to counseling. And I wasn't going to tell that counselor, whatever, you can go somewhere. And I would give him just enough to, like I say, get me out of there. And so on May 30th, 2019, I blinked and the cop was at my window. I blinked and I was being put in the back of the cop car. I blinked and I was in Land O'Lakes jail. And I thought this was like 5 minutes that had gone by. It was like 3 hours according to my paperwork. And here's God. That next morning I went home, and it's the first time I looked at my kids and I said, Mommy has a problem and I'm going to go get help. You see, because part of that trauma that I was talking about was I was told at 12 years old not to have children. They didn't even suggest I tried. I was left infertile, and I was mourning over a life that hadn't even happened yet. My daughter's sitting back there, my youngest one. God gave me 2 by marriage and 2 by birth. My granddaughter's 18 months old, and she gets put in my lap today, and she says, Nani, I love you. That's what happens to alcoholics that don't drink. And so when I went to that rehab, again, I showed up after 57 days in Lowndes County Jail, and I opened my mouth and I did the same thing I had always done, right? Like, I was going to tell you guys my trauma. And this lady, she was only 2 weeks more sober than I was. She turned around and looked at me and she goes, oh, honey, you're going to have a hard time when you see your part in that. I got offended. I said, I was a child. How dare you? She says, yeah, but you're the 42-year-old drinking over it. And that was one of the first times that the rigorously honest part of this program jumped up and slapped me in the face. And so it was suggested I get a sponsor. The dictionary definition of suggestion is a subtle order. There's some facts for you. They suggested I get a sponsor, and I walked up to that lady after the meeting. I asked her to be my sponsor. I said, but I don't think I can do this. She said, what do you mean? I said, those promises. I said, there's one that says I'm not going to regret the past or wish to shut the door on it. You don't know my life. And she looked at me and she goes, oh, honey, she goes, if you don't believe I believe, we believe, you believe, I believe. We're going to get through these steps, and you can have a never list. You go ahead and put that in your pocket. She goes, we'll talk about it in a little bit. She goes, but word 1, step 1, you got to join the we part of the program. So that's the only reason I joined the we part of the program. Orange is not my new black, and I did not want to go back to jail. I would have stood in the corner and quacked like a chicken if you told me I didn't have to go back to jail. And on March 6, 2020, it's the only graduation certificate you get in Alcoholics Anonymous. I left that rehab after that 6 months. I went back in front of that judge. I thanked her in open court for saving my life, and I sent my probation officer a thank you card when I sent in my last mail-in. That's what also you do in Alcoholics Anonymous. They're just trying to save your life. They're not trying to be your friend. And so I also took a first suggestion. She told me I was not allowed to go back to that job that found me sleeping in the corner. The vice president of the bank actually found me asleep, snoring in the corner. And they told me from jail that I could have my job back when I got back because I was so good at it. And so I was cocky. I'm glad the 10th step promises say we're not cocky anymore. So she told me, she goes, if you go back to that job, you're going to get drunk. So I actually humbled myself. I wanted unemployment. When I came home, I did not go back to that job. In August of that year, I got called with the job that I wanted, that I had always wanted to get back into the mortgage industry. I have 20 plus years in the financial world, and I was good at my job. I had that job. So at 3 years sober, I cannot always talk about a pink cloud without saying this, because I am so grateful for the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, because at 1 year and a month sober, I buried the man that I was going to marry. He's not one of us. He had an elective surgery so that he could be healthy, so that we could get married. And I stood over his grave, and it was the first time that I didn't want to crawl in after somebody and have them bury me with them. And I went to a Wednesday night ladies meeting. It still meets. It's the Easier Softer Way group at the Catholic Church off Mile Stretch Road. We buried him at 11, and my meeting was at 7. There's God. And I went to that meeting, and I prostrated myself on that table for months because I couldn't stand up and say the prayer around him. And then one day I cried a little less. I shared a little more. And I stood up and I held hands around that circle. And since then I have been holding hands in that circle. And again, I'm so grateful for the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. At 3 years sober, here's Life on Life's Terms that Alex was talking about. A lot of you see me with the hat and the earphones and the cane. This was not the way that it was. As of January 21st, I had the AA trifecta. I had started dating again, and I gotten a promotion that week, so God was good. AA was great, and we left our house at 6:30, and at 6 o'clock, and by 6:30 we were hit by an 18-wheeler, and I was left with a brain injury. I have nerve damage, and I was left permanently disabled. And what do you do with that, right? I knew exactly what to do with it. I went to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I called my sponsor. And when you're counting one step at a time on the way to the bathroom or wherever you're going, and you're like, you get halfway there and you're like celebrating when you get there, and you turn around, you got like the whole way back, and you're like, one step at a time, and then you celebrate, like, this is the crap that, the corny things that make me laugh today. It wasn't funny then, but I would go on to a meeting. There's a 24/7 online meeting because during COVID we learned what Zoom was. And I am so grateful for those rooms because I have some AA family here today that drove from Tampa that I go to a noon meeting with every day. This is the first year that my blood family has been here to celebrate with me. And these are the rewards that we get, when we don't drink. And I stay solution based because Kimberly that drank was a mean and angry drunk, and it had nothing to do with what was on the outside. So the step 11, I didn't know how to meditate, or I knew how to pray. I didn't know how to meditate. And I was very grateful. A lady kind of worked with me on that because today I sit 90% of my brain injury. I'm severely light and sound sensitive. So so if I say anything that you guys like, if you'll just do this is the waving that she's going to show you. That's clapping in sign language. I sit in quiet, dark rooms, and I make these little prayer butterflies. Some of you have them. And I pray over them, and I embed them with somebody that I heard. Somebody, if you have a medical issue going on or something going on, let me know. I will pray for you, like 100%. I guarantee it'll go on. And if you would have told me 6 years and a day ago that would have been my life, I might not have made it into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. My dad gave me a very good life lesson that day. That I believe that if he had used what we call in the rooms a toolbox, I believe if he had waited a day or called one person, I believe my dad would still be with me today. But that's not his life lesson, but it is mine. As long as I remember that I found a solution on May 30th, 2019, and from that day to this, I have not had to drink over the promises, and that is all because of you in this room. Thank you for my sobriety.
All right, and Luke will come present Kyle with 5 years.
Hi everyone, my name's Luke. I'm an alcoholic. I first met Michelle 15 years. All right, the time is getting there, and I want the celebrants to have the time. So just really briefly, I just want to say, it has been a pleasure for me getting to know Kyle more and more and more. I've always enjoyed hearing him share. He shares right to the point. His message is always clear and it's strong, and it's always right on point. And you know what he's thinking. Subtle is not a word I would use for Kyle. But I'll say this, behind every one of the messages, behind the action that he does, the people he talks to on the side, his sponsees, who he talks to after the meeting, behind all of that, definitely is love and care and concern. We see it. God bless you, Kyle. Congratulations.
Good evening. My name's Kyle Aquilino. I'm alcoholic. Thank you, Luke. I noticed you did not wear a shirt with my face on it. The funny thing is I have a fat neck and I didn't even want to wear a tie, and he showed up in 2 Hawaiian shirts. So I'll make a mental note for next year on that. A pretty weird deal, right? I've had 5 years and got loaded before, and I'm celebrating 5 years again today. And my mom is here today, and she has not been here since I celebrated. she has not been here since I celebrated 5 years the last time, right? So sobriety is precarious at best. But I do want to welcome you if you're new. And I was sitting back there trying to remember what being new in a room this big felt like. Because I remember being alone and afraid in this room. And it wasn't quite as big back then, but certainly I didn't want to. And I love that Cuck brought up the Dr. Bob's last correspondence, because that smug complacency. None of us would be here if somebody didn't take the time to take us to a meeting, explain how things are done. None of us came in here knowing anything. None of us knew each other when we got here, although it seems like like Chris says, it seems like we've known each other since the placenta. And none of us we had no idea about any of this. And I came here, and really I'd been in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous for, I don't know, 6 or 8 years, something like that, ever since a judge told me to come when I was 18 for drinking and driving my vehicle. And I thought that this was just about not drinking. You know, and Michelle kind of alluded to that. And I didn't know to put into words back then, but I needed a sufficient substitute. And I knew that drinking affected you guys different than it affected me. And I didn't even know how to put into words what that was. But I knew that drinking was giving me an experience that was different than it was given to people like my mom, or a normal drinker. She was not drinking a glass of wine and stealing jewelry after. And it happened 9 times out of 10 for me. I would begin to drink and I would be off on these horrendous runs. But when I would drink, it would fix this sense of dis-ease inside of me. It would give me a sense of ease and comfort that made me comfortable in my own skin. So when you would tell me to sober up and that abstinence was the answer, which is what I thought you guys were offering here, was like an abstinence sober elk club. You know, we would come here on Friday, which was terrible. You know, Friday, way better stuff going on a Friday. And I thought you just hung out here and you just, hoped for the best the rest of the week, you know what I mean? And that Alcoholics Anonymous existed in rooms like that. Really, for me, I thought it existed at the A Club, right? I thought it was in the A Club with like Vince and those guys back then. And what I know today is when we get in here completely beaten and completely hopeless, which I pray that you are for any of the folks that picked up those newer chips, or even if you're not so new, I hope you're hopeless like Eric was talking about. Because going through this process gave me a sufficient substitute that alcohol gave me. And that's not what I was expecting here. I was not expecting to find a sense of ease and comfort in sobriety. I was not expecting to be happy and sober at the same time. And that's what I got here when working this deal at its best, at the best of my ability. I have a sense of ease and comfort today where I can match calamity with serenity. And this year's not been the easiest. I've had some little health scares and some other stuff going on in my life that normally would have sent me on a tailspin. I had a cancer scare earlier this year, and I don't know if you're like me, if you hear that, you're positive you're dying. I called my son's godfather, who happens to be Chris here, who, by the way, Luke's been my sponsor for a couple months now. Chris Kelly absolutely saved my life. I always like to give recognition where recognition is due. He showed me a real answer when I got here. He was a man whose deportment shouted that he had a real answer. But I thought that this was just over. But I didn't go crazy over that. I was able to kind of handle it with some kind of dignity and grace, and that's only a testament to what you guys taught me here. So if you are new, this deal, this is a life-changing, life-transforming deal. This is about having a personality change sufficient to recover from this thing that was always going, my head that was always on top of me, always just, I don't know if you have a busy head, but I just had a busy head for as long as I can remember. And as a direct result of doing this, I got, people like, somebody mentioned their kids. I got 2 little rugrats at home that are just probably driving my wife crazy right now. And, my son's never seen me crawl around on my hands and knees like an animal looking for a piece of seashell or something. Piece of deal. He's tearing the blinds up. He's never seen that guy. He doesn't know that guy. Right? And I go home, I go out to a meeting or something. He doesn't know that guy that doesn't come home for 3 days. He does not have any exposure to that guy. And I thank you guys for that. Thank you.
And Caleb will come present Zach with 2 years.
name's Caleb. I'm an alcoholic. There's a power that's in this room that's undeniable. If you look in that corner, Zach has his newborn, his girlfriend, and his entire family here tonight. Like what? What a miracle, right? I met Zach 2 years ago. He had another sponsor at the time, and he wasn't calling this sponsor, so he wasn't coming to Fourth Dimension. He did not want to face that, and he was miserable as could be. And he asked me to sponsor him, and we went through this work, and he got lit up, and it was awesome to see. His first year, he did the halfway house thing, man, and he was lit up. And then coming into his second year, right? He got a girl. He met Kelly. He got a girlfriend, and I was. There's a speaker that says it, and it holds true to my life. It should be illegal for me to give relationship advice. And I was nervous for Zach. He was ready to move out of this halfway house. He met Kelly, and I swear it was like 3 days, and he told me they were pregnant, and I was like, oh man. But it's been one of the best things that ever happened to Zach. Me and Zach are really close. I hire him full time. He drives an hour to and from work every day, and funny thing about that is we'll work all day, and he'll get in his truck, and he'll drive home, and like 5 minutes into his drive, and he'll call me, and he said, I need to talk to my sponsor. My boss is such a prick today. I'll be short. I know we got another celebrant after this. It might have been 2 weeks ago, and we were sitting in my truck. I think we just took a lunch break or something. And I don't know the exact topic, but I know we were talking about like how good life is today, like where we were just years ago and where we are today. And I remember Zach got like stumbled up on his words. He couldn't put into words what he was trying to say. And all I could do was nod my head, because that is the power of something that we tap into. And in my experience or my opinion, whatever way, I don't have to understand what's really going on here, right? I just have to do what's in front of me. I have to do these steps. And I have to help other people. And I get to see miracles like Zach stay sober. Some people go their entire lives not getting to bear witness to miracles that we get to see every single day in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Zach has helped me so much in my sobriety. And I love you, brother, and I'm proud of you.
Hey, I'm Zach. I'm alcoholic. Thanks, Caleb. It means a lot to be here. When I got here, I'd see people get like 3, 6, 9 months. I'm like, yeah, I'm screwed. There's no way. I'm making it 3 months, man. And I stuck around. I was a little reluctant at first, but I wanted to stay sober. But I stuck around. Met some really good people. It was a huge part of my sobriety. And yeah, I don't got much to say. I'm really grateful to be here. Congrats to everybody that got medallions, man. And I heard someone say it before, it's not for us, it's to show the new people that it's possible to stay sober, man. So I'm going to stick around. It's the only thing that's ever worked for me. So thank you guys for my sobriety.
Robin will come present Rebecca with 1 year.
Sorry, guys, I am crying over there. 2 of my favorite guys right there. I mean, like, wow. Talk about the miracle. I'll never forget the misunderstood. Like, we're all so misunderstood, aren't we? Wow. I am honored that I get to be a sponsor. I have another sponsee that's out there, and I mean, like, if you've never sponsored, if you haven't been around long enough to stick around and do this deal, man, you got to do it for yourself and somebody else. But do it for yourself, because to watch, as it says in the book, right, to watch the light go on in their eyes is, wow. It's like you just can't even explain that. This one here, let me just tell you a few stories on this one. I'm just kidding. So my sponsees come to my house, we hang out, my dog sits with us to do the steps, right? So first day she comes over to my house, we're going to work on the first step, right? We're reading the book, we're talking about the first step, and I ask her, so what do you think about that? And she goes, I really don't think I'm an alcoholic. I'm like, really? I think I've heard your story a little bit. I think you know, I can't say that you are, but I'm like, let's look at some questions. I don't know if she answered all of them yes, but pretty close.
I think you said it was 3 and I answered like 10.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so pretty close. So, yeah, I am so honored to be able to be her sponsor. And the crazy thing about being a sponsor is that I really liked what Jose said, because once my sponsees are through the steps, they become my friends, right? They are just like, I call her when I'm having a problem. I call Stacy when I'm having a problem. Like, I call my sponsees when I got stuff going on when my sponsor's not available. Because connect, right? I have to connect with someone and get this stuff out of here because this is my worst enemy. So recently I called Rebecca and I said, so when are we going to finish your steps? And her response was, wait, 10, 11, and 12 are maintenance steps. I don't have to do those. Sunday she'll be at my house to finish her steps. I'm very honored to be your sponsor. Congratulations on 1 year. This is just the beginning. Just stay. Just stay. No matter what happens in life, we just stay. Right? Thank you guys for everything that you do here. I love 4D. This is the meeting I go to more often than any other meeting in Pasco County. I'm a Miami girl, so it's tough to go from Miami to Pasco County. Sorry to say, but I'm really grateful that I get to be a sponsor, and yours especially.
Okay, in true alcoholic fashion, I can't help but say it. We saved the best for last. No, I kid, and I appreciate every single person in here who has been along for my journey. I remember the first time I walked through those doors. I fought this process tooth and nail. I sat at home for 3 months, not drinking, but not completely sober, and I did not want to walk through those doors. And I have family that has seen it, and she would check in on me and she would say, you really need to go to a meeting, you really need to go to a meeting. And I finally came, and I remember the fear of walking through those doors. I purposely came a little bit late, hoping nobody would notice that I came in, so I didn't even know there was a greeting line. And I had people approach me about getting a sponsor, and so I dived in, I dipped my toe in it. I wasn't sure if I was really an alcoholic or if I just got a little bit out of control. My mom had died and she was my best friend in the world, and I didn't grieve. I didn't even know how to begin to grieve. And I'm not using that as an excuse, but let's just say things happened, and I went downward very quickly. And once I came into these rooms and I slowly started doing the steps, and I'd fight. I didn't want to call somebody at the same time every single day, and if I was a minute late or a minute early, I wasn't disciplined. And I didn't want to have to write down my gratitude every single night and write out the step over and over and over again every single day. But I did it. Regardless of what I didn't want to do, I did it. And when they say keep coming back, I kept coming back. And I'm so glad I did. It took me 12 months and the full 12 steps to finally get it. But this is a program of acceptance, of accepting who you are and all of your flaws and your defects, understanding that the answer is not at the bottom of the bottle, and that it's okay to not be perfect, because every day is a new day for improvement, one day at a time. And thank you everyone who played a part in inviting me and bringing me back and walking me through in words of encouragement, because I can tell you along the way a lot of times I just did not want to do it. And somebody did say something very profound to me, which was, you've done it your way for this long, and look at where that got you. Why don't you try something else for a change? So, for all the people who picked up tonight, congratulations. For all the people who are new, congrats for making your first step. And don't let the fear consume you, because it is a great thing once you find it. Thank you.
All right. We have passed the basket in accordance with the 7th tradition. Also, a second basket went around for the ASL donations. You can pick up meeting sheets at the podium after the meeting, and let's give tonight's celebrants another round of applause. If you are willing to become a sponsor, please raise your hand. Perfect. Good stuff. And now, Chris Kelly will come read There Is a Solution from page 25 out of the book.
Chris, alcoholic? There is a solution. Almost none of us like the self-searching, the leveling of our pride, the confession of shortcomings which the process requires for its successful consummation. But we saw that it really worked in others, and we had come to believe in the hopelessness and futility of life as we had been living it. When, therefore, we were approached by those in whom the problem had been solved, there was nothing left for us but to pick up the simple kit of spiritual tools laid at our feet. We have found much of heaven, and we have been rocketed into a 4th dimension of existence of which we had not even dreamed. Thanks.
Alrighty. And Jennifer will come read the long form of Tradition 12 and close the meeting.
I'm Jennifer. I'm an alcoholic. This is the long form of Tradition 12. And finally, we of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the principle of anonymity has an immense spiritual significance. It reminds us that we are to place principles before personalities, that we are actually to practice a genuine humility. This to the end that our great blessings may never spoil us, that we shall forever live in thankful contemplation of Him who presides over us all. If you would like to join us, we close with the Lord's Prayer.
Gotta be connected. Okay, that'll work.
The Lord's Prayer.
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.